and a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Chow is hosting. That's the show that tells nothing but the truth. Exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman. That stands for a testimony for the spectacular and a share of the royal glory. So that brings us to the show today. Today is our weekly update. With me is Mr. Ken Hemming, my dear brother, and a lovely public figure, I call him, of this community, because he loves this community so much, and he never missed a show for the past 6-something years or more.
Yeah,
Or,
a lot.
Except previous week, 2 weeks ago, there was a schedule of the scheduled weekend. He had an accident, so we missed that. That's only absence on that day. Right.
Well, I had pain in my left knee with the major muscle strain, but more pain in my heart missing you and your viewers, Jack.
All right. And I'm so glad you made a full recovery.
I'm here
and you're
smiling.
back again.
I'm ready.
Kicking alive.
I'm ready. I'm back to humanity.
Okay, kicking alive like usual. All right, welcome back to
Thank
the show.
you.
Okay.
My honor.
Today, what you have on the list of the weekly update?
Well, one of the most important things I believe that we can talk about, as exemplified by my wearing my American flag tie, is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, where the Allies invaded the area in Normandy in France to liberate Europe from the Nazis. And 11 months later, when you think about landing there, on which day 4,414 of our people did die, which is really out of 150,000 approximately either parachuting or being come through the water into France. It's not, I mean, if you're one of them, it's a bad day, of course, but it's pretty successful. The only area we really had problem was Omaha Beach, because we couldn't really bomb the German lines up there well enough because of fog and rain. And so that allowed German area to be more defensive against our landings. However, it's a day that Canada, Britain, and America, after planning for months in England for this event, which could have failed. I mean, failure happens in war.
All the time.
It happens in war all the time. And hallelujah that we succeeded in getting our foot by midnight on June 6th, 1944. We were inland enough to pretty much protect our landing. And then the Germans were coming, and we had like 12,000 airplanes bombing the Germans, coming to try to drive us back into the water.
I'd say to most of Americans, prior to the film of Saving Private Ryan,
Yes.
nobody had a more vivid image about what had happened, or what scene was of the landing in Normandy.
Well, it was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
7,000 boats,
And
133,000
lots of old guys, when they saw that, they say that was the most vivid description of that day, of that action, of that landing.
See, most of us living in America have fortunately not witnessed or experienced true violence and true warfare.
Okay. Right.
So, unless, like I listened to these guys that landed, I know.
To the war as a whole, that sacrifice that many soldiers.
Yes, sir.
On that day, on that morning of that beautiful morning of that day,
Yes.
Moggy morning of that day,
It
was necessary. But to the mothers and fathers of dead ones,
Well-
of the fallen soldiers,
Right.
they're a tragedy of a lifetime. Right?
Well, absolutely. but also the parents, I believe the majority of the parents knew that America had to do what it had to do.
Yeah, by theory. By theory,
but your
they
heart,
understood.
your heart hurts.
Yeah, the heart hurts,
eternally.
right? And the significance of today, bringing the subject to the public for the whole America, I believe did something in a large scale in the commemoration of the day. Right?
And you know,
And now we're still 1 week later, we're still talking about it. So what do you think is the significance of talking about it, please?
well, if you don't learn from history, it will repeat itself. So if we allow, because there's only so many guys left, you know, and there were some women, but mostly guys that landed there. If we don't keep it fresh in our mind, the chances of a recurrence of international warfare, World War type thing is possible. And so and there's only so many, you know, we lose like, I don't know, 500 a day of these guys. There's not many left, and they're dying, you know, they're in their 90s or more.
Of course, yeah.
And in honor of these gentlemen, a 95 and 97-year-old guy that parachuted on June 6, 1944, parachuted in again with somebody holding them in that. But are you kidding me? 95 and 97, and they were in good shape too. They were in better shape than I am right now.
Yeah.
And they were landing, and they were the glory. And they asked the one gentleman, well, how does this parachute trip compare to the other one? And he said, well, they were shooting at me in the other one. They were shooting at me.
Okay.
That wasn't fun. He said,
No
that
wonder
wasn't
this
fun.
one, yeah, okay.
You know?
All right. What significance it brings up to the millennials, the young people?
Well, you know,
Of this century.
our education system in America, I do not have a great admiration for right now, because they're really not teaching history like they used to. You know, they don't teach physical education anymore. We're probably a softer country than we were back then, and because people worked more with their hands and they were stronger people, and if what you know, so a lot of our young people don't even know much about World War II. They don't know what happened. And so we have to, after all of our veterans are dead, we have to keep teaching it, just like we have to keep remembering 9/11, or something else will happen again.
Very good. I do agree. I do agree 100% with you, because the young people these days, especially the millennials, need a good lesson about, number one, the entire length of World War II.
Yes.
And number two, more especially, I would emphasize on the fact that the biggest contribution that we, the Americans, did to end the World War II, right?
Huge.
Those are of the great significance that we would have to bring it over to the newer generation over and over again. Otherwise, they will just take what they have now, the freedom we have now, for granted.
Well, in like from 1937, 38 to 1941, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, there were a lot of people in America that, well, we don't want any part of that war. That's the war in Europe. They can take care of that. And we got in later than we really should have. In retrospect,
yeah, sure,
we really did.
Before Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
the Americans thought, okay, whatever they do, they do Europe and their war.
Right.
Until December the 7th of 1941.
Right.
That morning in Pearl Harbor,
Big day.
when that broke up,
Yeah.
right, the Americans realized, no, it is our war.
It
All right?
was. They brought it to our
war.
land.
They are bombing over our head. They are attacking us now.
Right.
Right. So now.
So we had to respond.
Yeah, we had a good response. We did the right thing. We did. Until the bombing of Tokyo.
Right.
Until the two gifts.
That was 6 months later. We bombed Tokyo 6 months later.
6 months
which
later.
was phenomenal.
And also, there is another important significance of the American action or American involvement in World War II is that we will bring the credit back to the United States.
Okay.
Because we have not been invaders.
That's right.
We are helping
We're not imperialistic.
people.
Yeah.
we're liberators.
We're defenders of freedom.
Yeah, we're defenders of freedom.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
We never did anything. We never take a piece of land or 1 inch from any other countries.
No.
We did get involved here and there.
Yeah.
When after mission is complete,
Yes, sir.
we are back home.
Then we're back home, yeah. And after World War II, look what we did. We rebuilt Japan and Germany into phenomenal
such
powers.
a propaganda to demonize the United States.
And they
To
tried.
demonize the United States.
They tried.
That we did this, we did that. Of course we did.
Yeah.
But we never took a land.
No.
Not even 1 inch.
Germany could have been a state. Japan could have been a state. We don't do that. We're not interested in it.
Oh, on top. Okay, who helped Japan rebuild?
We did. Totally.
Who helped Vietnam rebuild?
We did. Vietnam's a
Who's
great
helping
vacation spot.
Iraq rebuild?
We have.
We.
Yeah, we. That's
We,
right.
we.
It's a French
All
word.
right.
Yeah.
I do 100% agree with you that it is of a great significance that we do remember the D-Day. We do celebrate the victory. We do memorize those fallen soldiers,
Absolutely.
brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
And so that will bring a clear lesson to our young people. Right. Number one, we are the number one nation of the world. Number
Absolutely.
two, we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't taken any
we
1
haven't.
inch of everybody's land.
No, we haven't.
We are we.
Yeah.
Right?
And we are proud. We have a constitution that nobody else has.
And the freedom you're enjoying does not come for nothing.
Freedom is not free.
All right, good. Very good.
Paid for
All
with
right.
blood.
My dear friends, let's take a very short moment. I believe today's weekly update has a very good start because he and I had a very solid common ground that we both agree that the United States has been the number one nation on the global earth, that we have done nothing wrong. We have never taken any inch of our land, and even 1 inch of land from anybody else.
Right.
From anybody else. On the other hand, we helped people. We did get lots of involvement, but none of the involvement make us the way they demonize us.
Right.
All right?
It's true.
I totally disagree. All right, good. All right, we will be right back after this short break.
Everything expected, straight. It's like the same John Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host English News.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to the show. East West Show. Jack Chow is hosting, exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry with 400 years of glorious history and hand forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman. That stands for a testimony to the spectacular and a share of the royal glory. Back to the show. With me is my friend, Mr. Ken Hemming, a CPA for life, though. He is the writer himself. His book, Life Simple, 100 Words to Live By. See how smooth
It's
when
there.
I
know.
mention the title of
Thank
the book.
you. It flows.
Right. Oh, it flows so smooth.
Yeah,
Right?
I love it.
Is my Bible that I read almost every day. It's not that I read it because it's a work of him. It is quality of the book itself. It is the truth the book is telling, right? So I recommend that if you would have time, go to Amazon, Google it, find out, and go ahead from there. Okay, now back to the show. What I believe we're done on B-Day, right? D-Day, right?
May I make one comment, please?
Yeah, sure.
This
sure.
is, okay, you know, we tend to think there's war, that we fought it in Europe and whatever, Asia. You tend to say, okay, well, the men or women over there fighting, did it. But the glory, tremendous glory, must come to the people in America during World War II that almost instantly exploded in the abilities to manufacture military weapons.
Exactly.
And the women did the greatest job conceivable and possible. Rosie the Riveter, et cetera, they busted it because a lot of the men were over there. And we really switched to wartime production, and we just outproduced because nobody was bombing us while we were doing it. We're bombing Germany and everything, all their plants that are making military equipment. And it was the credit, as much credit goes to the people in America I know people, they work 7 days a week, sometimes 12 hours a day, just for the war effort. Okay, so glory be to our people here that gave as much of their energy to the war effort as our fighting men.
I couldn't agree more.
I love them.
And right after, shortly after, a few hours after the bombing, after Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt made an announcement.
Big one.
Declared the war.
Right.
And we started the bombing with them within a few days.
Yeah.
Right.
In
the meantime, all manufacturers, especially GE.
Okay.
Especially GE.
Yeah.
Right. They used to do the cars.
Yeah.
On
stuff.
normally, and then the motors and things.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they started the military production right away.
Totally different.
Even today, lots of police department use GE cars.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Because that's appreciation, again, reciprocate to what they did to this great country at a time of difficulties.
It was very difficult. And we were also fortunate that Adolf Hitler was not a brilliant military man, because he could have taken over England if he hadn't made a few mistakes. And then he also, after we declared war on Japan, he declared war on America, which was really, really dumb. He should have just forgot America for a while, do his thing over there. He helped us win the war.
Anyway, the American involvement, especially the two bombings, one to Tokyo, and 1945 to
Nagasaki
and Hiroshima.
Yeah.
That ended the war, right? Within days, they surrendered. That we all have to remember, it is the United States who helped Europe at the time of difficulties.
Absolutely.
Right? And it is the United States. It was the United States at the time of necessity to put an end to the war.
And we brought back pretty much just dead bodies and not their wealth and not their land.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we were pretty pure.
We brought home only
ourselves,
dead
and alive. Yeah.
Our dead soldiers.
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, what else do you have for today?
Well, okay, now I'm a proud American, okay, and this was glorious. I spent a lot of time when I was injured watching President Trump's state visit to Britain.
Your favorite guy, I know.
Well, I love my country, and I love our relationship with Britain, with England. How many countries, Jack, that really do support us and that we can trust? Good question. Not as many as we'd like it to be.
Nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
But so anyway, Queen Elizabeth invited President Trump for a state visit. She became queen in 1952. She's had 152 state visits since then, and she's met 11 of the 12 presidents since 1952. She did not meet Lyndon Baines Johnson because he came in only for 2 years after President Kennedy was killed. But she met everybody else. And to have a state visit is a tremendous honor. And it's full of a lot of pomp and circumstance. You know, the pomp is fantastic. I mean, the Queen, are you kidding? I love the Queen, okay? And she's been there almost 70 years, like 67 years as Queen. Yes, since 52.
52,
yeah.
Yes.
So, and she's 92 or 93, and she's still walking, and she's still, you know, in one of the most beautifully dressed people on planet Earth, obviously. So President Trump and Melania, our First Lady, they went, and President Trump brought his kids plus some other people in the entourage, and were greeted with real proper prestige and honor. And so President Trump, their itinerary He's had a private lunch with the Queen, and also they had a state dinner, which I watched as much as I could on TV. They didn't show the whole thing, but in which at which President Trump and the Queen gave speeches, and even some of the news networks here that really detested, don't like President Trump. Also, the Queen and Trump gave speeches in Portsmouth, England, which is where the D-Day people got together and went across to France, okay? And President Trump gave two of the most wonderful, wonderful, honorable speeches supporting and glorifying Britain and Queen Elizabeth. And nobody could complain about that. And also, I want to say how proud I am of First Lady Melania Trump. Her fashion, her style, her elegance, her class, her dignity just glorified us beautifully. And she fit in just very, very nicely.
That is, or that was, after all, only a token visit. It is a token
Well, it's
visit.
a state visit.
It symbolized the visit. It symbolized the
huge.
visit to enhance the relationship of the U.S. and the U.K. allies.
But
right?
also, they talked a lot of business and they talked a lot of issues.
No, I know.
Yeah, okay.
And even Queen Elizabeth was a symbol of her time. All right. So there's not any actual business going on, actual policies whatsoever. Just a general.
Well,
In
there was a
general,
lot of-
I believe they did to the right extent, and the broader world some kind of a trust.
Well, that's true, but there were a lot of discussions, business discussions on Brexit.
Yeah.
Theresa May, who resigned as prime minister on the Friday after the Normandy celebrations, spent time with President Trump and talking about issues in Brexit and a lot of things like here's one of the most interesting things. Of course, our media that does not like our president, they spend all their time talking about protests and whatever against Trump. There really were not any major protests in this one stupid little balloon of Trump, okay? They make a big deal out of it. But yet the people, including a nice pub over there, famous one, renamed itself during Trump's visit there to the Trump Pub. And so he was really very, very well greeted. And they also then our country, President Trump, hosted dignitaries, including the Queen, at a glorious residence in London. And where again we shared our mutual commitment and respect for each other. And things get strained. They make a big deal out of the mayor of London criticizing and saying lousy things about our president, and never once do they say he's a Muslim. And that's kind of why he's doing what he's doing, okay? So never once they say it. So, England's in trouble, economically, and no, I believe in Brexit. Get out of the European Union. I think it weakens the strength of the individual
One thing
cultures.
for sure, in the whole process of visit, though, nothing ran wrong.
No, nothing went wrong.
And nothing Trump had handled go wrong, or otherwise the media would eat him alive.
Well, yeah, and including interfaces with President Macron of France. They were buddy buddies, and then they had differences, and now they were kind of buddy buddies again, and it was very nice because there was no room for politics when you're glorifying D-Day, and also the significance of making our relationship with Britain more open and honest.
That's why D-Day was the greatest call of that day.
It was, it
because
was.
nothing was bigger than that.
No, nothing was bigger than that. No.
And anybody,
no protesters for anything.
Well, I did say just now,
Yeah.
nothing went wrong with the whole thing, or otherwise the extreme media will eat him alive.
Oh, they would try to.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
we've got.
Which is good.
We have a lot of evil in our country. We do. But so the state visit, I think, was really.
To make it clear, though I myself is not a supporter of Trump, but I do like the fact that anything positive happened to build up the U.S. image.
Well, I still think you'll vote for him in the next election because you're not going to vote for a socialist.
Well, good. Anyway,
that's my statement.
Anyway, let's see.
I could be wrong.
I'm not sure, but
No one can vote for a
but
socialist.
something worth of consideration. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's take a short moment out. Let's move on to Mexico. When we come back, we got a big deal to talk about Mexico trade.
Big deal.
U.S. Mexican whatever trade deals. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everything
Pretty
is
bad.
expected
We
to
have to continue to work
It's
on
like
it
the
now.
scenes on waves.
My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, dear brothers, sisters, and fellow citizens of America. Welcome back to the show, Jack Chow, on the East West Show. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelry with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the greatest craftsman. That stands for a testimony to a spectacular and the share of a royal glory. So that brings us back to the show. With me today is my dear friend, Mr. Ken Hemming. Mr. Ken Hemming been a commentator, political commentator for quite some time. And he's been with me on this show for good 6.5 years something.
My honor, my great honor.
What is today, which number is today's show?
239.
239. Did they say?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, on a weekly basis.
I'm so
or
happy.
lately on the bi-weeklies. Anyway, all right, good. So we move on to another issue on the weekly update. That is U.S.-America trade versus immigration.
Right.
The interesting part is that when these two issues put together,
Correct.
right, something interesting might happen. What you have?
Well, you know, let's face it, we have a border with Mexico. And some people in America do not want to secure our border and want to let an open border and have lots of people come into our country that are not invited. They come here illegally, and in my opinion, they're not welcome. So what's happening now?
Can we
Yeah. But so
lay
now-
the subject without taking position first?
Well, yeah.
We say we have argument over the border policies, how we want to control the border.
Right.
Right,
And some
okay.
people do not want to control the border.
Well, that's
Right. So it's either
that's
control
later.
it or
That's
not.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
either control
Right,
or not.
right.
There's a
So
controversy
anyway,
about
as
it.
Monday, 2 days ago, President Trump had said he would put a 5% tariff on all goods coming in from Mexico if they did not man up a little bit and help us, since we're not getting the wall built as fast as we want to, help keep the people from getting to our border. And so it put a lot of pressure on, I mean, it got Mexico's attention huge. A lot of people don't want to interface tariffs with trade, okay, with immigration. But it got Mexico's attention, and so they sent a bunch of people over, and there were meetings for 20 hours a day, and they did come up with a joint agreement where Mexico said that they, and we'll see if they do it or not, would have 6,000 troops, National Guard troops, mostly at their southern border, not their northern border, which is us, at their southern border to stop these migrants from coming from Honduras and all the other South American countries.
Including tunnels.
Yeah, including tunnels and everything. And they were helping them. They were busting them up here. They were facilitating what I consider an illegal invasion of our country. Okay, but so then Trump has postponed for approximately 90 days. If they man up to the agreement that they have agreed to and actually execute it, then there will not be tariffs. So, you know, we have a fickle stock market too. So when there's this threat of tariffs, the market goes down, and then when it gets released, it goes up, and, you know, who knows? You know, the stock market is fickle. not really indicative of the economy, other than we do have a beautiful 3.6% unemployment rate. So everybody's working that wants to work. But so now we're working closely with Mexico, and also Vice President Pence is working close with Mexico to see if they were, if they will get this going and accomplish the purpose of it within this 90-day period. Otherwise, tariffs will be started up again. It was going to be 5% and then go 10%, 15, 20, 25 over a 5-month period if they didn't help us. And it's a lot cheaper for them to help us keep people from invading our country than it is to pay for those tariffs.
To be honest with you,
which is appreciated.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Ken Hemming,
Yeah.
and to my audiences, ever since the wall issue was brought up,
Yeah.
ever since the immigration or anti-immigration issue,
Right.
border control or border opening, whatever issues was brought up, this has been so far the smartest move
Yeah.
at all.
I think you're right.
At all.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you have an incoming influx coming from outside, though, to build a dam is one thing,
Yes, sir.
right? To stop incoming is the other,
Right.
right? What is more effective? Well, of course, a more effective way would be stopped from the upper end,
Well,
from the
that's
upper
right.
stream.
Right,
Right?
right.
So if you do not stop from the upper stream, unless you can build a dam that can hold a pond water as large as the whole population of Mexico,
Right.
you will never have
Right.
this problem resolved.
Yeah.
You will see your dam higher and higher, the pond, the water bigger and bigger and bigger until the whole
Till it
Mexico flows in.
Yeah. Right.
So the most effective way was to stop the flowing
Yeah.
from the upper end.
Yeah. And
I'm so glad that President Trump find the smartest way to start it working, say, hey, I'm holding my end though, but you stop yours. If you do not, and I will squeeze.
And while Mexico, hopefully, prayerfully, is cooperating in this effort, we are still continuing to build the wall, and
We'll
You're
right.
eventually control our country.
You're right. Hopefully is a right word.
I know.
But I would say absolutely instead of hopefully,
Right.
because both know, right? Both Donald Trump and President of Mexico
Right.
know the importance of U.S. and Mexico
our relationship.
trade, right?
Yeah.
To the economy.
Right.
You will stop that by 5%.
Yeah. It's like $350 billion a year in trade.
That's going to be so devastating.
Yeah.
So instead of previous calls, jokingly, of course, I'm not trying to flip off the older page, right?
Right.
On the older page, we have records saying, hey, yeah, let Mexico pay for the wall,
Yes.
right? And so on and so forth.
Right.
So those calls were useless. And this call is the one.
Yeah.
Is the one.
It's going to have an impact.
Yeah. That make things work right away.
Yeah. And then the other thing is America, like President Trump says, we could fix our immigration laws in 15 minutes. The problem we have is the people that do get in here illegal, they end up with more welfare than people that are just out of jobs that are American citizens. And really, frankly, I don't want to pay for that, okay? I'll be honest. And so it's a real, you have to take away the attraction to break into America from the people coming up here, because they come here, they live better life than they have back home.
There are two folds. You have to convince yourself. There are two folds of immigration reform.
Yes, sir.
Fold number one is the one we're talking about, to stop the floating.
Yes.
Right?
Stop the influx.
And fold number two is that we have, regardless where you're on the left or you're on the right, you're Republican, you're Democrat, you're whoever, there are 11 million people in already.
Right. Tragedy.
What
really.
are you going to do with them? Each of them a human being. Is a human being
Well,
who eat, who drinks, who breathes.
Well, it's still a matter of integrity and ethics.
No,
and
I
how
know.
one lives our
I know.
life.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Even if you have put them in jail, do you have a jail as large as 11 million of them? Hold them there?
But we've got to stop the inflow, which is what you're saying.
Come on, baby. Yeah, separate.
Which is what you're saying, right.
The inflow, suppose, say, we have a good conclusion. We have, thank God, our president finally came to a very
Practical and hopeful.
practical and
Yeah.
affectionate way
affection.
of doing it, right?
Right.
Okay, now,
Right.
okay, suppose that we put that aside a little bit. Now, let's come back, see what do we do with this 11 million inside.
Well, there's about 800,000 what they call dreamers, okay? And President Trump has offered, some amnesty and ways to citizenship for them. Now, you don't get in the front of the line. You got to get in the back of the line,
Of
but you
course.
have a way of doing it. Because, there really is no anti-immigration attitudes because everybody's for legal immigration, but only anti-illegal immigration attitudes. So
Yes, you're right, you're right,
we
you're right.
need immigrants.
Yeah. We need immigrants.
Because we have a growing
We
economy.
need immigrants. We still do. And we have 11 million of them.
And we
right?
need
Now, for a
merit-based.
time being, we stop the flow.
Yeah.
We stop the flow. Let's deal with the 11 million first, right?
Right.
Suppose.
Right.
You want to make things fair.
Well,
right?
there
To
is
everyone.
no fair.
There are folks who've been waiting for 10 years to get their brother through the channel.
Well, you and I both have a lot of friends that have come legally
Yes.
through China,
Yeah,
and they
of
had to
course.
wait.
They wait a long time.
They wait a
already.
long time,
They wait a
yeah.
long time. Right?
Exactly.
If somebody jumps in and say, "Hey, here comes a,"
Yeah. Yeah.
well, no, we will not accept. Right.
Yeah.
Now, that can be easily arranged. Say nobody jumps into the line
Right.
first, and then they have to pay some kind of a penalties
Yes.
to help the economy
Yeah.
and to also make it up for the problem they caused.
A lot of problems in crime and
Of course.
other areas.
Sure.
Homelessness.
Let's take a short moment now. Well, it looks that we need to stretch it.
We do.
Well, okay. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Everything
We
is
have
expected.
continued to work
It's
on
like
it
the
now.
scenes on
My name is Paul James. I host English news every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, and welcome back to the show, Jack Chow with the East West Show. Today with me is my good friend, Mr. Ken Hemming, doing our weekly update. This show is exclusively sponsored by Walfers, the Belgium royal family designated brand of jewelries that has 400 years of history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the number one greatest craftsman, which stands for testimony to the spectacular and the share of the glory of the royal glory. So back to the show, though. We're hanging there with the immigration issue versus the U.S. and Mexico trade.
Yes, sir.
And we found out that finally our president has found the smartest way to handle the flow from the upper end.
Yeah.
Rather than holding a pot.
Once it's in
holding a pot at the lower end.
Right.
Which never worked.
It doesn't work.
Okay, suppose that for a while works. What are we going to do with the 11 million? So Ken and I are here talking about how we are dealing with the 11 million or 12 million of them who got in illegally as a violation already.
Correct.
Right? Laws were broken already, right? So you're welcome to write to us, to me, your opinion about what we want to do, what we want to do as a nation to those 11 or 12 million of the illegal immigrants. To do so, you write to tellmydj at gmail.com. Or you can write to CSI Jack jack@hotmail.com, or you write to jack@edimediainc.com. We will handle your opinions.
We want
back to-
feedback. We want feedback.
yeah,
need
we want feedback. Yeah. So, what do you think? What we can do? We can offer to number one, make it fair. Number two, shorten the line.
Well, I really, unfortunately, think not much will happen until the 2020 election is over.
Okay.
Our Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, are not functioning in a very efficient way with the people of the country in their mind and in their heart and in their legislation. They're not passing legislation, and it's sort of a tragedy. I don't know that we've ever been this dysfunctional in the history of our country in Congress. So that's the problem. But we keep trying to negotiate, amongst congressional people and senators to try to get some things done. Some things get done.
Speaking of that,
Yes.
let me give you a little insert.
Thank you.
Yesterday, there was a hearing at the House,
Okay.
right?
Oh, yes.
You have a full house of, behind the speaker,
I know.
you have a full house of first
responders that have
to
medical
the-
issues.
To
the
September
9/11.
9/11,
Right.
who are either dying
Right.
or suffering from cancer.
Right. And they
Right.
were there pleading for help.
And in front, there is an empty House of Representatives. Only 5 of them were there.
A
listening.
huge disgrace to our country. A huge disgrace to
If
our
I
first
may, I may be
responders.
wrong. Let me double check.
Yes, boss.
Did the guy say only 5 members of the Congress were there?
I don't know the number, but it was sparse, very sparse. And it's unbelievably disgraceful.
You got a full house of first responders who are suffering or dying.
Right. They're to testify to
They
speed
were
up the
there
process for
to
help.
testify that we need help.
Right.
And plus, the money is there.
Well, the money's there.
The money is there.
money's there.
Right?
Yeah.
They need the money to make a little longer.
Right. Yeah.
They need
No,
the
this
money
is-
to cure the problems. And there are only 5 listeners.
That may have been as huge a disgrace on our congressional body in the history of the country.
I really
These
feel
people
sorry.
gave everything.
I really feel sorry for those folks who were
Me too.
the first responders
Me too.
and are either dying
Right.
or suffering from
Suffering.
cancer.
So many things that
Regardless,
do
they
happen.
need help.
Yeah.
And then finally, when they put their efforts together to make the House of Representatives listen to their problems, and there were only 5 of them listening.
Totally ignored.
What an insult!
A disgrace.
Disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
Disgrace.
Those Congress people should not even be paid for that day.
Not even by applying Constitution, just to say Samaritan laws.
Yeah.
They deserve more attention.
Absolutely.
Because they were heroes.
Right. Yeah. Well, they look at a lot of them died that day. Almost 3,000 people.
Didn't make it.
Yeah, didn't make it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Back to the issue.
I'm
yeah.
really glad you highlighted
Yeah.
that with your
Yeah,
viewers.
yeah.
though, Jack.
I'm a man of love.
It's
All
a
right. I feel
disgrace.
sad about it.
And that's all parties in there. They just dissed.
Regardless of a party,
Right.
that was not a part of the issue.
It was inhuman.
This was a human issue.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, that's really
Yeah,
bad.
sure. Yeah.
But so we've got to keep hoping that number one, and praying that number one, Mexico will effectively have a real impact on the flow of people coming into our country,
Mm-hmm.
and then also, Mexico, we have a big trade deficit with them. And just like, so we have the Canadian, American, Mexican trade agreement now that's still working its way, probably will pass the Canadian legislative body this week, probably, maybe by Friday. And then we've got to get it through America. There's some resistance, of course, from some of our people that don't want, we don't want Trump to have a win. It's not a win. It's not a win for Trump. It's a win for America.
Let's talk about how are we going to do with the 11 or 12 people remain here in this country.
Well, I think
How
you
are
start
we gonna do with them?
I think you start with the Dreamers. That's about 800,000. That's what Obama had identified at one point.
Okay,
and
take
President Trump has
800,000
offered
out.
away. Yeah,
To take 800,
Yeah.
okay, take 1 million out.
right.
Right? We still have 11 or 10.
Well, and we don't know where they all are either. That's, so we can't line them up.
I know.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Can
it's
we?
a big one.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's all your policies.
Yeah.
If you switch your policy, they will walk out.
Now, I have a very, very...
They will walk out.
Well, that's true.
I offer you
Well,
a
if
card.
Mexico gets better, they'll go home.
Okay, walk out, sign here. I offer you a card of employment.
Well, and we have over 1 million jobs available that nobody's working at. We don't have enough people to
We
to
offer
meet the jobs.
them an employment card.
Right.
So they will walk out.
Yeah,
Right. And with the card, we give them restrictions
yeah.
or
Right,
limitations.
right.
Or so on and so forth.
Yeah, it gives them a status, but it doesn't give them a priority
Yeah.
preference.
Do you think Canada can take some? We can offer some to Canada. Say, hey, we give you like say 3 million.
Right. I think
They need people.
I think they might need people, but they have a lot. They have a very strong immigration system there that does.
But they have
doesn't allow you to
they
get
have
in.
a strong economy too.
Well, it's a strong economy, but you have to have skilled workers for it, okay? So it still comes down, because right now everything's becoming more and more, you need more and more intelligence to perform many of the jobs nowadays. And a lot of the menial jobs, that I believe nothing is menial, by the way. If I was a sweeper, okay, I had a broom and my job was to sweep, I would take pride and I would be the best sweeper in America. But there's all these, all of these ridiculous cell phones and everything that we've got that take some level of training. So probably the best way to start then is have these trade schools that can be government funded and to give them a skill set.
Put them, okay, now.
That I
Number
love.
one,
I love
to
trade people.
solicitate them
Yeah,
to come out,
yeah.
register
Right.
with
Come
a
out of the
name, with
dark-
an address,
right,
right?
right.
So we give them
Register.
and a card for employment.
Right.
And
Now
with
they
the
can be
card,
legally employed.
With the card, they get to some kind of vocational school,
Yeah, vocational school.
right?
Yeah.
Get some training.
Yeah.
To
Okay, I like that.
to some skills.
Right.
Right.
To some basic
and of
skills.
course, they make sure they pay themselves.
Yeah.
Well, the government maybe do some subsidies,
Mm-hmm.
or make sure that they pay majority of the money. And then come out, there are jobs waiting for them.
Yeah.
That could be a very beautiful solution for the problem we have.
Well, you have to have the desire to work. You have to have the a skill set, and some of them are very basic skill sets. Like one of the things I always talk about is I've got a house down in that Palm Springs area, and say the pool guys, the gardeners, and the house cleaners, and this and that. It's like 90% Mexicans that work so hard, do so well, and live in just as nice a house as I've got down there, which I don't have a big mansion or anything, I just got a little house. But they're great. You can be self-sufficient and make it in America with that desire to work. And they work efficiently.
We do rely on those workers.
Right.
Right? Only make it fair,
And they're great.
make it open, make it under the daylight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're still doing it. We're doing it under the table.
Right, which is dishonorable to everybody.
The loss of revenue.
Yeah, loss of
Right?
revenue.
Loss of revenue.
Yeah.
And then to public safety and security, you do not have a handle of those population.
Well, this underground economy, where people aren't paying their taxes or whatever, I've paid every penny that I'm supposed to pay for my whole life, and it really does hurt me when people don't follow the law and pay their taxes.
I know.
Because it ruins us.
I know.
It ruins
So
us.
only by regulate those people,
Yeah.
make them come out from the dark,
Be registered,
be registered,
legally available to
legally
be
giving
employed.
them a certificate of employment.
Right, I like that.
And for that, put them into vocational schools
Yeah.
to learn some basic skills for surviving.
That's a beautiful path.
Yeah.
It is. That's good.
I would say, can we say that, do you think anybody, whoever wins the 2020 election,
Yeah.
would impose that kind of plan?
Well, let's put it this way. If America ever had a socialist, okay, like right now, like Bernie Sanders, he in his speeches, he says, I'm a socialist and I'm going to change America to a socialist country. Well, He's not going. A socialist won't get elected here. It just won't happen.
America is not a good.
It's not going to happen.
Not ready to accept socialism.
No, I hope no country should be.
Even I don't.
Well, I hope not.
I don't accept.
Yeah, because see, it takes your liberty away.
When you talk about the quote unquote socialism, though,
Yes.
you only refer to certain policies or in certain areas.
Well, you let the government.
You're not talking about socialism as a whole.
Well, sure you are. You're saying I think the government can make smarter decisions on how I live my life than I can with my own freedom. You submit to the government in a socialist country, just exactly like Islam. You submit. Okay, submission is what it means. So our people in America are not going to submit to a government. Unless they're lazy and have no idea and ambition.
All right. Let's stay with the solution for the 11, 12 million. We believe that's going to be.
That's a great path.
Could be a very good solution. All right.
It can.
Okay, my dear friend, my lovely audience, we're over time, but we're happy.
We're happy.
With Ken Hamming, we had done a very beautiful weekly update. So thank you for watching. To Ken,
thank you, Jack.
All right.
Love you guys so much.